Welcome to Wisconsin in Focus. I'm J.D. Davidson. 4 years after the 2020 general election, and despite a lack of evidence to the contrary, Republicans continue to believe the election was stolen from former President Donald Trump. And in Wisconsin, that belief runs deep. The Wisconsin Election Commission, however, has an idea they hope might help alleviate those type of concerns in the future. Joining us today is Ben Yount, Wisconsin contributor for the Center Square. And Ben, what does the Election Commission want to do?
The Office of Election Transparency and Compliance.
That's hard to fit on a shirt.
Wonderful name. Yeah, it would be OETC. That one. I think you could make that work. It sounds kind of official. Excuse me. I'm with the OETC. It sounds really, really impressive. But you are so correct in saying that the legacy of the 2020 election continues to thrive here in Wisconsin, even in 2024. And I don't want to say unique, maybe interesting. This is coming from the Elections Commission. This is not something that's being proposed by Republican lawmakers, though there are ideas for some sort of elections inspector general that have been floated over the past couple of years. This is not something that's coming from election deniers. The Elections Commission, in anticipation of the next state budget, because we do 2-year budgets here. So once lawmakers return come January, it'll be time to put together a budget. They're doing that work now. But this idea is for a $2 million Office of Election Transparency and Compliance. And really what it would be there to do would be to do internal audits, to respond to election complaints, to respond to even basic things like FOIA requests. Hey, I want to know how many people are boom. The Elections Commission has to do that now, but the complaint is that it takes 6 months, 8 months, a year to get that information back, because while the Elections Commission is researching that, they continue to have to administer elections. They have to make sure the ballots are set. They have to talk to clerks constantly and to do their regular job. And so the idea here is to create a special office to deal with the lingering questions about election transparency, election integrity. Now, since we spent years talking about election transparency and election integrity and the Gableman investigation here on this very podcast, it is worthwhile to point out that the Elections Commission is one of the reasons why many of those questions never were answered. The Elections Commission and the way that it handled the blowback of the 2020 election is one of the reasons why so many people have so little faith in election administration here in Wisconsin. But this is one of these situations where, okay, even election deniers say something went wrong. Well, here's a proposed fix. Do you want this fix, or do you want to continue to not trust the Elections Commission? Do you continue to not want to be able to see the numbers? Do you continue to want to just imagine what you think election integrity is? And this is going to be a real head scratcher for Republican lawmakers, because $2 million in a 40-something billion a year budget is nothing. And if this gets some integrity, transparency, just some extra answers out of WEC, I imagine a lot of Republicans are going to have a hard time saying no to the idea.
Yeah, that whole aspect of this is unbelievably interesting, because it sounds like a Republican idea. And the Election Commission and Governor Evers, a Democrat, proposed a similar idea a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he proposed it in his last budget, and there was hope that they could somehow win the Supreme Court, and then they wouldn't have to worry about cooperating with the governor. But no, this is one of these things that, all right, if you want to put on your conspiracy hat, the Elections Commission is proposing this so that they can control this office, so that they can squash any questions about election integrity. We need. All right, if that's the battle you want to fight, if you want to break up the Wisconsin Elections Commission, then go ahead. You're going to have to get the legislature to do that. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to get the governor to go along with it. That's certainly not going to happen. This is an opportunity to take the people who work in state government at their word, that they really do want to have clean, fair, trustworthy elections. And the administration of this is going to be, devil's in the details. And Bob Spindell, the Republican commissioner, who's been the solid conservative no vote, voted against this. He said he wants it to be led by attorneys. He wants the Republican leadership in the legislature to appoint one attorney. He wants the Democratic leadership to appoint another. The problem with that is you'd actually have to change the way that the Elections Commission statute is written and allow for political appointees to be employees of the Elections Commission. Right now, the commissioners are political employees. But if you work in the Elections Commission, the founding documents of the Wisconsin Elections Commission says you can't be partisan. You can't give money to campaigns. You can't run for office. You can't do anything. And so the idea of getting, sort of appointed leadership with political connections, that's a non-starter. But even Spindell said he liked the idea. It's just how to make it work. And so, $2 million. Now, the total Elections Commission budget's about $8 million. So, $2 million is a chunk of change for them. But we're talking about a $45 billion a year budget. 2 years, $90 billion. $2 or $4 million. That's a rounding error. We missed on the return on investment on the pension system for 6 months. Sorry, guys. We'll make it up next year.
The interesting part of this is it may not fix everything, but it seems like it's a step, and it seems like it's a step in a positive direction for transparency, which we're always for transparency, and it puts this right in the lap of Republicans to either put up and do something about transparency, or do you just want the argument? Is that what you're here for, or are you actually here to do some work?
They can adopt this idea, negotiate, which is a foreign word, come up with something that's an agreement, or they can propose their own plan. But what we have, and this is the way I explain it to everyone who asked, well, was the election in Wisconsin stolen? Something happened. A bunch of things happened that had never happened before, including COVID, but you had a huge spike in indefinitely confined voters. We ran a story earlier in the week how that allowed thousands and thousands of people to vote without showing voter ID. You had things like Democracy in the Park in Madison. You had the entire Zuckerbuck scandal up in Green Bay, where outside paid political advocates came in and essentially took over. You had decisions from the Elections Commission that went one way that had never happened before. And so a lot of things happened in 2020, and we never got the answers as to what and why. There were two investigations, one from the legislature that went really nowhere, and then the Gableman investigation, which turned into just a clown show and became more of a scandal itself for how little it did. So we had the Elections Commission in 2020, 2021, lawyer up and refuse to answer any of those, hey, what happened here kind of questions. Now, 4 years later, the Elections Commission is saying we would like to open an office to show people what's going on inside the administration of Wisconsin elections. Like you said, transparency in government is always a good thing, even if you're skeptical, even if you don't believe that they're really going to show you all the stuff. Getting some information and getting the information quickly and in a way that you can use, as opposed to filing a FOIA and waiting till the next election to finally get the information from the last election. It's a good idea, just on the idea of, hey, let's clear the air, because I don't know about you. I don't want to be sitting here in 2026 talking about the 2020 election any longer. I don't want to be sitting here in 2024 talking about the 2020 election, but unfortunately that's where we are.
It is. And this gives us something to look forward to after the 2024 election.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.